And this one is really, really spicy. Ring debates are ridiculously overblown. Champs is another major. It's no harder to win champs than it is major 2, arguably easier with less teams. What's good, CDL fans? Today I'm going to be going through a bunch of your hot takes and opinions here on Twitter. I posted this about last week and it has 117 replies and I have not read any of these. So we're going to go through a bunch of them, at least a dozen or so, and I'm going to give you my honest reactions and opinions to your takes. So yeah, let's get into it. Ring debates are ridiculously overblown. Champs is another major. It's no harder to win champs than it is major 2, arguably easier with less teams. Champs is like the big one, right? It's the one everybody wants to win. It's the one that everybody talks about. People say they give up their majors for a ring. People say winning majors doesn't count at all, right? Fans, players, everybody has different perspectives on this. I think to say champs is another major, I think from the perspective of like the format and what he's talking about, it obviously is, right? Especially in the CDL era, it's basically the exact same thing and it is less teams. It is the better teams, but it is less teams. So him saying from a very format perspective, it is technically easier because there's less teams, there's less rounds to go through to win champs, but champs is the best teams at the end of the day. It is also the last event of the year, at least nowadays, right? Way back in the day, it used to be in the middle of the season, but nowadays it's the last event of the year when teams should be at their prime form and everyone had a chance to kind of catch up and had the most time to put into practice. So from that aspect, it's definitely harder. I am one who do think rings can be overvalued. I think people think like just because you have more rings than somebody, you're automatically better, you're automatically greater. To me, it's just not that straightforward. Rings are at the end of the day the number one thing everybody wants to go through, and I know people heard what I just said and they already are going to block out everything I say from here because that's how it always goes. So definitely make sure you read the comments on this video. But I do think rings can be overvalued, but at the end of the day, it's what everybody plays for. It's what everybody wants more than anything else. But people tend to forget majors exist. People tend to forget MVPs. People don't think about longevity. People don't think about individual skill when talking about GOAT debates. If Simp has more rings than Scump, he's better. If Shotzi has more rings than Simp, he's better. That's just where we're at right now in I think today's CDL community. And personally, I don't 100% agree with that, but I know there's people that definitely agree, but this one was a hot take. Shotzi is the most talented player we've seen grace the game. There's obviously a world where this is true. I mean, Shotzi, when it comes to the gun skill, the movement, even the IQ in game, we know he is one of the best to ever do it, one of the best individually talented players. Who's the most talented? I really think it's just up to personal preference, right? You might say Scump, you might say Simp, you might say Shotzi, you might say Formal, you might say Dashy, you might say Hydra. Like, there's so many different players that are so good mechanically, mentally, in so many different ways. So, this one's honestly, I don't think is too hot. Dylan here says Aches has been great for the COD scene. Regardless of him not watching, he gets the community talking. And I mean, I absolutely agree, right? I see 45 people liked his tweet. Only one person replied. So people tend to be agreeing. At the end of the day, every single scene, every single community, every single sport, esport needs those pundits, right? Those personalities, those faces that are going to say stupid shit. Like they're going to say things that you just know are blatantly wrong, but they're going to make headlines. They're going to get clicks. They're going to get people talking. And as long as you're someone who's okay with that, right? In this case, Aches, it works and it's necessary for a scene to just keep the community going, right? If we didn't have someone like this with Aches and every single show is just people agreeing with each other 24/7, it wouldn't be as popular. The flank wouldn't be as popular and overall COD esports wouldn't have as much conversations. I mean, literally Optic win events and like the first thing I see on Twitter is people going at Aches and talking about, oh, I can't wait to see what Aches is going to say tonight. Like things like that, or Shotzi's obviously a superstar. I mean, Aches is top of mind for Optic fans when they literally go back to back at champs. So obviously if you're an Optic fan, you probably don't like him from the perspective of being good for the scene and the viewership and getting clicks. It's 100% true. Also, quick plug for Underdog, one of my newer partners, my newest partner. If you use code MAV at sign up, you can play 5 and get $50 in bonus funds plus 50% deposit match up to $1,000. If you're interested in fantasy sports or esports, definitely check them out. I think they're one of the best in the game. They have so many different lines, so many different sports and esports to play on. Obviously, always remember to play responsibly, but if you use them, it definitely helps support me, the content, and the channel. So I appreciate you, but let's get back to the takes. Zeus here said Dashy is better than Scrap. It's got 32 likes. People agree. This one, it's hard to debate. On a career perspective, absolutely, right? It's not even close. Dashy has more wins. He has rings. He even has MVPs. Individually, he's very talented, and he's adapted his role as he's played. Obviously, on a career perspective, it's not close right now. Scrap's got a lot to do there. Individually, they play different roles. So at the end of the day, it's hard to compare somebody who's more of an objective-minded AR than someone who's a slaying-minded AR, which, I mean, Scrap is just basically what Dashie used to be, right? He hasn't had to change his role just yet. And I do personally think from an individual, like the way he can get kills, at least in the last few seasons at minimum, even dating back to a couple years, ever since Scrap's been in the league, I do think he's been better than Dashie at that. But Dashie just plays a completely different role. I think if you go either way on this, it's kind of up, you know, you can kind of go with whatever, and I wouldn't really argue. Clutch here said Simp is the greatest to ever do it. A couple replies, couple likes here. I mean, obviously he's just not, in my opinion. Some people are going to say this. I would imagine it's going to be only FaZe fans that say he's the greatest to ever do it for the most part. It's just not, in my opinion. Like, yes, he has rings. Yes, he has MVPs, and he's one of the most individually talented players we've ever seen. I just don't think, like, I don't know. I still got Scump. I still got Crim. I mean, you can obviously make the argument for Shotzzy these days. Formal, Clay, Karma. Like, I still think those guys are over it, and maybe I'm just an old head, but he's just not the GOAT, in my opinion. There's actually surprisingly a lot of people in here that have, like, Simp is the greatest of all time, Simp over Shotzzy. There's a lot of takes like that, so clearly a bunch of people think this, and also every single one of them has replies, so clearly people don't agree. This one is one that I like. He said Kleenex is the most criminally underrated player of the last 5 years, and I do think Kleenex is one of those players that every single season gets underrated. People know how good he is, but I think everybody knows and almost expects Kleenex to be like an A-tier player 9 times out of 10, right? Like top 5 or borderline top 5 SMG every single season. His floor as one of the faster SMGs in the league, I feel like it's so much higher than so many others. He's gonna have a bad game. He's gonna have inconsistencies. That's gonna happen when you play this like really aggressive play style, but I definitely agree. I think Kleenex just tends to stay underrated and doesn't get enough praise like he should. This guy cooked up 3 separate hot takes all in one, and all of them I think are actually pretty hot. Cole is the best dynasty. I mean, when you look at it, I think the Optic dynasty or Complexity are looked at as the best, right? You can kind of pick your poison with that one. Cole definitely had like 2 years, but especially Ghost, where they were just ultra dominant. But Optic had multiple years, 3 years, where they were dominant across everything, even though both teams only won 1 ring. One was really dominant for 1 season, or even like BO2, they were super good, right? Even with Clayster. And then Optic was dominant for multiple seasons. So I think that's pick your poison. I still go Optic personally. Cell is the best AR all time, and he put in parentheses talent. This one I just disagree with. I do think Cellium has the talent to be the best AR of all time in that category, but I don't think he plays that way enough to like render him the actual best talented AR. I think when Cellium plays quick, when he isn't like just back sitting on head glitches, like kind of like playing for KD as people like to say with him, he's actually nasty. Like when Cellium pulls out a sub and starts running around frying, like at EWC and MW3, at the events they were winning earlier this year in BO6, that version of Cellium is really, really good. Like that version of Cellium, if he played like that 24/7, I think there's a real argument for this. But when it comes down to like AR talent, there's so many ARs we've seen play the game that I just think have just been more impactful for more years and even have peaks similar to Cellium. I mean, you can look at guys like Octane, you can look at guys like Dashie. People don't like to say it, but Clayster at his peak was really, really good, really talented, went back in AW and other years throughout his career. Formal, obviously, I mean, Formal's probably the guy everyone would say is like the best AR of all time, especially with talent included. Then the last one here, he said Karma over Scump. This is another one where definitely some people think this. There are some people out there that are like, Karma won all 3 of his rings on LAN. He's the only one to do that. He's just the GOAT in that case. Again, that is just like, if you're a ring guy, like if you believe in rings first and foremost, and you add on the fact that they all 3 are on LAN, I guess I hear you on this one. For me, Scump's the most individually talented player I've ever watched. I've been watching since 2011. This guy got on the stage, this guy loaded up into the lobby, and you just knew he was gonna fry. Like every single series, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Scump was a literal menace on the map. Like what we get from like Hydra or Simp or Shotzzy playing at their best now, it's what like felt like we got from Scump almost every single map, almost every single series. So for me, I still got Scump over Karma, but I understand someone who might have it the other way. This one here is just a bad take, bro. I'm gonna be honest. This is just a bad take. Kenny has been carried to success and is a bottom tier player. I mean, this is just somebody who doesn't watch COD and hasn't watched COD since Kenny came into the league. I mean, in World War II, he was Rookie of the Year. I mean, one of the best, I mean, arguably might have been the best player in his first season in World War II, made the Champs Grand Final, right? On the Thieves teams, he was always good. I mean, at the end of the season in Vanguard, he won MVP at Major 4 and Champs, was the best player for Thieves at those events. Obviously, when you're winning events and you're winning Champs, you're not being solely carried by one player. I mean, even people like to say like Hydra carried New York Subliners and MW2. The events they won, Kismet was also 99 kills, right? Like, yes, Hydra was carrying the entire season and keeping them in things, but you always need help. But to say Kenny has been carried to his success is such like a recency bias take because of how bad of a season I think he had last year. And I mean, this one is just, this guy clearly does not watch COD. Another take that like this person I just don't think watches or like knows COD history, to say Clay is the most overrated champion, right? When you look at who Clay's won champs with, right? When you look at like the United team in BO4, right? Was Clay the best player on that team? Absolutely not. When you look even at the 2019 team, was he the best player on that team? I mean, honestly, at champs, he was actually playing pretty well. It was an online event, things like that. But like this is just strictly denied by the fact that he won champs MVP in AW. Like Clay won the MVP of COD champs in Advanced Warfare when he got his first ring on LAN, right? Like right there is just like Mr. Right Place, Right Time. Meanwhile, he was the MVP of the event for his team that won. Like I feel like when people have takes, now I understand if you think Clay is overrated, you're entitled to opinion, right? There's definitely things you can point to where you could say like he was at the right place at the right time. But when there's just strictly something that proves that wrong, I don't know, bro. I just don't get takes like this. I think we got through a bunch of pretty good takes. There were some hot ones in there and there were some not so hot ones. I mean, like I said, there was over 100 replies to that tweet. So maybe I make a part 2 of this where I go back to it, or maybe you guys drop some hot takes in the comments of this video and we make a part 2 where we go through that. But if you enjoyed, make sure to sub to the channel and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.